Okay, then I will call the Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 Royal Oak Traffic Committee meeting to order. And let's see. First off is a roll call. So I guess I'll start out. I'm Rick Karlowski, and please state your name and as I go around the screen.
I think where you're calling from, we're supposed to say.
Oh, all right. Rick Karlowski calling from Royal Oak, 14419 Pingree.
Tom Allen calling from Royal Oak, 3055 Helen Court.
Mark Steiner calling from 707 Royal in Royal Oak.
I'm not sure if I'm out of order. I can't see the order, but I'm Amanda Smith, and I'm calling from Chambers Street in Royal Oak.
Okay, great.
Even Bruno.
Oh, sorry.
Engineering division.
Jennifer, Engineering Division.
I'm Holly Donahue, the city engineer.
Okay, next, I guess, is for me to read the preamble. Let me get to that. Okay, the traffic committee consists of Royal Oak property owners appointed by the city commission. We are volunteers and are not paid or elected. What we decide tonight is merely a recommendation to the city commission. If you do not agree with the findings or decisions of this committee, you may go before the city commission and petition and or discuss your issue with them during the open public comment. At this meeting, you will be given an opportunity to speak during your item on the agenda. However, the city commission meeting, you must be recognized during public comment on their agenda, not when the traffic committee resolutions are being voted on. Otherwise, you will not be able to voice your concerns. It is important to understand that professionals make preliminary recommendations to the traffic committee. They consist of civil and traffic engineers, outside consultants, and public safety officials. You may have been informed that these professionals have denied your request or petition. The denial does not mean that this committee will vote that way. Excuse me. However, they are committed to discussing the issues at hand in a pragmatic and sensible manner. Our ultimate recommendation to the city commission will be the one that benefits our citizens and community as a whole. Next up is approval of the agenda.
Yeah, this is a new one we had to add for city administration. It wasn't on here before. We have to approve the order of the items in the agenda. That way, if for some reason you guys wanted to change it, like move public comment down, move agenda item up, that's all it's for. I don't think we'll need to use it very often, but we do have to have an official approval.
Okay, so I need somebody to make
This
a
is
motion.
Mark. I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second, Tom Allen.
Okay, any discussion? If none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed? Okay. Unanimously passes. Next up is approval of the minutes from the March 23rd, 2021 meeting. Does anybody have any changes or concerns with that?
This is Tom Allen. I thought we were going to put in portable speed bumps on one of the recommendations.
We did
Merrill.
put removable speed humps. I think Jen's going to scroll down to it. But that is what the commission approved, and they are on order. DPS is hoping to install them later this season. They're not very easy to remove. I think it's something like 150 bolts or something that it takes to put these giant things in. So they might go a winter and see if they stay okay with the snow plows rather than take them out every single winter. But we're going to kind of see how it goes. But they can be removed if they become an issue.
All right. I see that. So thanks, Holly.
Sure.
All right, I move we approve the minutes. Tom Allen.
This is Amanda. I'll support that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next up is public comment for items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody online?
We do
Outside
have
of-
one attendee in the audience, attendee John. If you're here for an item that's not on the agenda, you can raise your hand virtually and we can open you up on the floor. If you're here for an item that is on the agenda, once we start that item, you'll get a chance to speak on that specific item. So I don't see that he's raised his hand, so must have an item on the agenda.
Okay, so I'll close public comment for items not on the agenda. And that brings us to item 6. Your scheduled items in old business. 6A, the results of the March Traffic Committee recommendations to City Commission.
Yeah, I just
I'm not
wanted-
sure who.
Oh, that's just me. I just wanted to summarize the results of what happened after our last traffic committee. So we brought all the recommendations from the committee to the April 12th commission meeting. The commission approved the first 3 items, A, B, and C, as recommended. For item 6D, which related to the Delamere Boulevard parking, they ultimately decided to allow angled parking for the businesses, which resulted in about 55 parking spaces once we actually reviewed it and saw what would fit on the street. With the caveat that if we don't get enough license agreements to make it more than 38 parking spaces, then we are directed to revert back to parallel parking on Delamere, which provides the 38 spaces. So it's a little confusing, but it seems like most of the businesses were in favor of the angled parking. So I expect that's probably where this will go. We'll get enough license agreements to do that. We're working on design for that right now. And then later this summer, we'll start approaching the businesses, and hopefully you never have to hear about it again at this committee. I think that was all I had for old business.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Okay, hearing or seeing none, I'll move forward to item 7, the agenda items for this week. Item 7A, request to add yellow center line where Marywood Avenue turns into Austin Avenue. I'm not sure who has this one, but is this Holly?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So we had a request from Jessica Volovic of 404 Austin to install a yellow center line at the corner of Marywood and Austin to separate the lanes of traffic. She notes that cars going southbound on Marywood, and Jen, maybe could you go to the next page? It's just easier when you can kind of see the aerial image there. So cars going southbound on Marywood and trying to turn into Austin nearly always cut the corner and drive into the lane of traffic that's on Austin, heading westbound and turning north onto Marywood. And the house on the corner has some hedges that make it difficult to see if a car is coming around the corner. So we took a look at this, and Austin is a 31-foot wide local road with composite pavement and concrete curbing, and it borders the north side of Royal Oak Middle School. And then Marywood Drive is a 31-foot wide local road consisting of concrete pavement with integral curb. Currently, there's no stop signs at this 90-degree intersection, and there is a north-south pedestrian crosswalk across Austin Avenue. There is signage that prohibits parking and student drop-off on the north side of Austin during school hours, and then the south side of Austin is signed for no parking and no U-turns. On the west side of Marywood, that is signed for student drop-off and pickup during school hours, and then the east side is signed for no parking at all times. The 5-year accident report shows that there were no crashes at the location. We reached out to Royal Oak Schools just to see if they had any input or information to share on this. They said they've had a few complaints about this intersection over the years. Not a whole lot, but sporadically they'll hear some complaints. In their opinion, more enforcement would be helpful here, more than any signage or striping. But that was just their opinion. Michigan Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices has standard signage and striping for this type of situation. to notify drivers that there's a curve in the roadway and to provide an advisory speed. So we reached out to the TIA to see if they could give us an advisory speed based on the geometrics of the intersection here. And they recommended it a speed of 5 miles per hour to put on the signs as like a warning, slow down speed. So the striping that you see here and the sign configuration is what we as staff are recommending. So that would be the 4 directional arrow signs, and then the 2 reduced speed limit plaques that go along with a couple of those, and then 315 feet of a double yellow center line to get painted from Marywood and then around to Austin until it kind of goes back to a straightaway. Estimated cost is $1,200 for the work.
Okay, is there anybody from the public who wishes to comment on this issue?
Not seeing any hands raised for this item.
All right, then I'll bring it back to the table. Is anybody, any of our commission members want to have a discussion and or make a motion?
This is Tom Allen. 5 miles per hour seems awfully low. I mean, I would have difficulty getting my car to go that low. What is the TIA's rationale for that?
They use the width of the road and primarily the radius of the turn. You know, this is really 2 streets more than it is a curve. So it's really like a 90-degree turn. So you don't come to a complete stop, but it's sort of like when you're yielding, you know, you go into a pretty slow stop so you can get around the corner there, especially if you're heading northbound. The southbound one, you might be able to go a little faster. And these aren't, it doesn't say like you shall drive 5 miles per hour. It's, you may want to drive 5 miles per hour to take this curve here, you know, in your own best interest for safety.
Well, this is Rick Karlowski. So that's not a speed limit sign, so it's not a requirement to go 5 miles an hour, as in no one's going to get a ticket for exceeding that, correct?
I know we have the PD here, so if one of them wants to answer, I believe it's just an advisory sign, but I'll let them comment on that.
Yeah, it's just an advisory speed. It's actually not enforceable. No one will get a citation for exceeding 5 miles per hour on that curve.
All right, that helps a lot. It's a yellow sign, right? It's 5 mile per hour is in yellow, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's not a speed limit sign.
Was there any study conducted with respect to how many cars or vehicles use this, I guess, bend? It's not really an intersection, is it? It's really more of just 2 streets coming together in a bend.
Right. Yeah. Because they have 2 different street names, I guess you call it an intersection, but you could have it be the same street name and call it the bend. We didn't take any traffic counts here because it was really more about the configuration and advanced warning issues. I know it's a really popular spot for dropping off kids and picking up kids from the school. So I imagine it's, you know, pretty widely used, at least in the mornings and in the afternoons.
Right. My only thought is, you know, I wouldn't expect these signs in a typical type of residential street where, you know, I'm just planning on turning on another street. So I was just wondering if there was any particular concern that made, you know, this bend or intersection, you know, particularly important to put these signs, but okay.
What? This is Tom Allen. What about the hedge? I looked on Google, and that hedge does make it a little bit difficult to see.
Trying to get there on my computer.
I know it'd be if this hedge is on private property, it'd be the city's code enforcement that handles, like, if it's too tall or something. we would have to put like a request into code enforcement to look at that to make sure it's within code, but I don't know how tall it is. I don't know.
One other question I have is there some sort of standard where if a street is too narrow, a double yellow line isn't appropriate or anything like that?
Not necessarily, because if the road is too narrow, it shouldn't exist for two-way traffic. Both of these roads are 31 feet wide, which is excessively wide for 2 lanes of traffic, but I think that's because there is like a lane for drop off and pickup. And it's near a school, so that's probably why these roads are wider than our typical 27-foot wide road.
Okay.
And regarding those hedges, yeah, they are on private property. If we had a lot of accident history, we might be able to validate forcing someone to remove something on their private property due to like a sight distance triangle. But without any of that type of data to back it up, it's kind of hard to go to a resident and say, you got to cut out, you have a very uniform hedgerow here, but you have to cut out the very end of it. I don't know. That's a hard battle to win. It does look like we have Miss I'm sorry if I say this wrong, Volovic joined. I don't know if she wants to speak, but she was the person that brought this issue up.
Okay, yes.
All right, I'm bringing Jessica in. All right, Jessica, you should be good to go. I unmuted you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I actually live in Austin, and in the morning, like before I sent the email repeatedly, every morning I would drive from Austin onto Marywood, and like 3 days in a row, a car would come from Marywood and almost hit me head on, because it just feels very unnatural when you're on Marywood to not cut the turn, to go all the way to the southern side of Austin to stay in your lane. It's just natural to want to cut the turn. And so you have to drive very slow on that corner to avoid an accident. And sometimes if people don't drive on that corner very often, they just take it very quickly. And there is that crosswalk right there. And when you're driving on Marywood, you don't notice if there's people on the crosswalk until you're right there because of the hedges.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any other?
This is Amanda. I don't have any issue with the proposal, and I'd feel comfortable voting for it. But as we were all talking, I thought, and this is completely on me for bringing this 20 minutes into the meeting, but I'm starting to wonder if we don't have an appropriate quorum to vote for the meeting, because we do have 4 members of the committee here, but the chair can't vote, and we need a quorum of voting members. Unless I'm miscounting, it looks like we have myself, Tom Allen, and Mark. Do we have another voting member that's here in the meeting as well?
I'm not sure.
I believe the chair can vote. I just cannot make a motion.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, you do vote.
Yes, ma'am.
So maybe scrap everything I just said. I apologize. I'm just over analyzing at this point. Well, if there's no other comments, or at least I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the staff recommendation.
I second that, Tom Allen.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. Any further discussion? If not, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anybody dissenting? Okay, the motion passes to accept the staff recommendation. So we will have the arrow signs and the WWL center line installed if the city commission so approves. Okay, next up, item 7B, request to install stop signs at intersection of Tufts Avenue and Wellesley Avenue. Is this Holly again, I assume?
I was muted, rookie mistake.
Okay.
We received a request from Morgan McCann of 716 Wellesley to install a stop sign at the intersection of Wellesley and Tufts. She says no stop sign has ever existed there, and working from home, she's noticed how many vehicles almost collide at the intersection since neither road has the right of way. So we took a look at this and determined that Wellesley is a 27-foot wide local road with composite pavement and curbing. Tufts is a 27-foot wide local road with asphalt pavement and curbing. And the 3-year accident report shows that there were no accidents at the intersection. There are currently no stop signs at the intersection, as noted, and it is unusual to have an unrestricted movement at an intersection for at least one of the directions. So it would be appropriate to have a stop sign when approaching the T intersection, and that's consistent with what we have all over the city, although I'm sure there's some other problem areas just like this that aren't signed in any direction. But when we find them, we like to fix them. We also observed this same situation 1 block to the north at the intersection of Yale and Wellesley Avenue. And so we're recommending that we install 1 stop sign for westbound Tufts at Wellesley, and then 1 stop sign for westbound Yale at Wellesley for an estimated cost of $500.
Okay, is there anybody from the public that wishes to comment on this issue? No. Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission table. Does anybody want to any discussion, or anyone want to make a motion on this?
Yeah, this is Tom Allen. Why wouldn't you use yield signs?
Well, I can't think of a place in the city where we have the yield, and I'm not saying they don't exist, but I can't think of a location where we actually have them. It's our standard practice everywhere to have a stop control at least one of the legs.
Okay.
So I guess it's more to be consistent with what we have citywide. Not necessarily that yield would be problematic, but kind of what we've done throughout history in the city.
But doesn't the yield sign, I'm not sure, but doesn't the yield sign require some kind of a viewing length before you can put one in? I don't recall ever having a yield sign anywhere where there's a corner type of situation. It's usually someplace where you have a more of a sight line that you can see the traffic and slow or merge, rather than need to stop and make sure that you look both ways, kind of a thing.
I mean, stop signs definitely going to cover us more than a yield sign would, like you said, due to sight distance. I believe the Michigan manual does give a little flexibility and engineering judgment to decide if you want to do a stop or a yield based on the situation. And we've just always gone with the stop. I know Steve Purnell is on the call. He's super familiar with the Michigan manual. So speak up if I missed anything there, Steve.
No, I think you have it pretty much on point, Holly. It's kind of, yields are more optional. It's just more for coordination of like the whole city network. So I think with our context with Royal Oak, it's we have just more. It's probably more beneficial for lower volume roads, I guess. So it seems like more of a better safety protocol and just better coordination, just with just like consistency to have that. Because if you have just like a random yield sign, people just may not really kind of acknowledge it or just really yield, I guess, if it's not part of the pattern of the road network.
I don't want to step on any toes. This is Amanda, but I'd move to adopt the staff recommendation.
This is Mark. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt staff recommendation. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? If not, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Before we move on to the next item, Holly, do you know when these items will go to the city commission for final approval? That way the attendees know when the city commission will be voting on these items.
Yeah, great question. So we will bring these to the city commission at their June 14th meeting, and that's a 7:30 p.m. meeting. If there is something you wanted to bring up during public comment, not because these are remote meetings, you actually call in earlier in the day. I think it's between 4 and 6 p.m. and leave a voicemail with whatever your comment would be. And all those instructions are posted on the city's website in more detail. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yes, thank you. I should have addressed that earlier. Okay, item 7C, request to evaluate speeding on Durham Road between Chester Road and 13 Mile.
Yeah, we got a request from John Dyer of 3508 Durham to evaluate speeding on the block. He says there's many kids on the block and a lot of traffic. The street is wide and long and vehicles speed down the block. So Durham is a 31-foot wide local road with concrete pavement and integral curbing. The block of Durham from 13 Mile Road up to Chester is approximately a quarter mile long. And there is a four-way stop at the end of that block, which is the intersection of Durham and Chester. Parking is allowed on both sides of the street there. And a 3-year accident report shows that there were no accidents along the corridor. So we requested traffic measurements from the TIA for speed and traffic volume. And we measured them at 2 locations because this is a fairly long block. And that was performed in April of 2021. So we took counts just north of 13 Mile, which is shown in the table here, and then also south of Chester Road, kind of like at the 3rd marks, I guess you could say, of the road. So the 85th percentile speed is shown here was 24 miles per hour for both counts, which is a really nice result. And vehicles per day were around 1,000 to 1,200 vehicles per day. The TAA did note that the counter tubes that they put out for the location, the first location north of 13 Mile, did come loose during the study. So they only used the first 24 hours of data that they collected and then eliminated the bad data, which was pretty obvious when the counts just completely dropped off. And you can see the results in the table above. They're pretty consistent from the 2 locations. So I feel pretty comfortable that that's representative data that they gave us. As the measured speed here is below the speed limit of 25 miles per hour, there doesn't appear to be a speeding issue on the block. The volume of traffic is in the medium range for a residential local street, that's 600 to 1,200 vehicles per day, ticking towards the higher end of that though. But so based on the data collected, no changes are recommended for this block.
Okay, is the petitioner or any other person from the public online who wants to discuss, make comments to this?
We do have the petitioner in the audience. John, I'm allowing you to talk. You just need to unmute yourself.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great. Thanks everyone for having me today. Yeah, I live on Durham, and the issue has gotten worse the past I'd say year, and it's kind of built up to well, recently I installed a doorbell camera, and I got some of the footage on camera and had sent it to the mayor, which recommended me coming to you to perform the traffic study. So about a week ago, I did obtain results from the Royal Oak PD speed trailer that was parked on our street for approximately a week. And the data did come back, and it appeared to contradict the data that you guys got from your study. So the data collected from the ROPD shows there is an issue when the kids are playing outside during the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Your data doesn't show any issue. The data during the study includes a full 24 hours a day, which isn't depicting my concern of times when kids are outside. the ROPD data is from a full week. Your data only showed 2 full days with 2 partial days. The 2 partial days of data do not include some peak hours, which is my original complaint. One of the strips came dislodged during the study, so I'm concerned it wasn't properly installed to begin with. Both samples of data are painting a completely different story. ROPD data showing the 85th percentile between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. is above 36 miles an hour. And it even shows a high of 48 miles an hour at 11 a.m. When kids are outside. So basically, when I'm outside watching my kids or doing yard work, it appears that data from the ROPD speed trailer more represents what I'm seeing and my neighbors are seeing on Durham. So I understand your recommendation is based on your data, but I'm still concerned there's an issue here. And I asking for some more periodic patrolling from the ROPD and ROPD speed trailer until this issue is resolved, or an audit of the speed study and ROPD to verify which data is accurate. And I did email the report I received from the speed truck trailer to Jennifer. Thanks.
Thank you. Holly, is there anything that we need to do as far as maybe sending this back to you folks for a re-review, given given the additional data from the trailer data?
We can do that. You know, whenever we evaluate a street for traffic, we don't look at parts of the day and look at the 85th percentile for that part of the day. We look at a full 24 hours of data to come up with the 85th percentile. That's what the standard is for traffic studies. So I wouldn't necessarily just look at the short window of time for one petitioner, because we don't do that for any other street. We can take the data again, because I am surprised to hear the counts for that high for the 85th percentile being up at 36 miles per hour. I mean, we only had 9 vehicles during one day that was between 31 and 33 miles per hour, and one vehicle, up to 36, one vehicle up to 40. So it seems very odd to me. And I haven't seen that data. And Jennifer was off for a week, so I'm guessing it came in and it never reached it to me before this meeting. So it's something we could table and look at again. If they really do conflict, then I can order another traffic study and bring it back in July, if you want to do it that way. There's no harm to us to do it that way. There's no extra cost or anything. So.
Hey, Holly, Pat Stanton from the police department. The trailer didn't go in until sometime well after we had our last committee meeting, I guess you would call it, during the daytime. It came in based on the complaint that came in, and the trailer did show that there was a problem, especially around 11 and 12 o'clock. However, we've been targeting for about the last week. We've had an officer out there as much as we can between the hours of at least 12 and 2, targeting enforcement and writing tickets. We have not had a lot of contact in that time. We've written, maybe, I don't have the exact stats in front of me because I'm at home, but I know we haven't been getting more than 1 or 2 tickets per detail that we've worked. We're still working on that. We're going to continue it through the rest of this week and see where we get. So the trailer did show that there was a problem northbound. And again, this was after we met originally. However, my enforcement detail that's been out there consistently for the most part, with the exception of when we've had some things just kind of jump off, we have not had a lot of need for traffic enforcement. So that includes motorcycles. So we're doing our best to try to stay low key and see what we can find and take enforcement when we can. And we're going to continue to do that. But what my officers have been seeing during their details, there hasn't been a lot. But the radar trailer, again, does show that there was a little bit of a problem. So it's kind of conflicting with what the trailer gave us versus what my officers are seeing during those details right now.
Do you know if the radar trailer, does that get calibrated regularly? Like,
I
we trust
don't
the
have that
data, I guess?
Yeah, I don't have that information. It's something I have to, one of the things I'm picking up from Chris Anetta before he retired. I don't know the stats on whether or not that gets covered. I can tell you that in our police cars, unless there's any type of damage to the radar unit itself, as long as it passes the test, it doesn't need to be recalibrated. That goes for every one of the radars in our police cars. So unless basically somebody trashes the trailer or we get an error message, which automatically gets generated and emailed to me, it's my belief that there shouldn't be a problem with the radar.
Okay.
This is Tom Allen. I would move that we, repeat this study and revisit this next time we meet.
And there's a motion on the table. Does anybody want to second it?
I would wait until after the Crooks Road construction is completed until 2022, because that's probably a reason why, just with cut through traffic and just with turn restrictions, just for building Crooks Road is like a big issue with just with the big deviations of what we got from TIA and what the police got recently, and plus other variables of this, the pandemic earlier of like high Michigan spike cases and probably less people traveling. So it's just just the data just probably won't be as clear if we try to just do another speed study just over the summer. I would wait till next year when road construction from Crooks is over, because that's going to just impact traffic from the neighboring streets.
That's a great point, Steve. Thanks for bringing that up. I wasn't even thinking that.
I'll tell you just one last comment from me, Pat Stan from the police department. We're going to continue on my shift as the day's lieutenant. We'll continue to target that stretch of Durham. Whenever my staffing allows, we're going to make sure that we have somebody positioned there. We'll continue to do enforcement and see what we can do to determine what the problem is and alleviate it if it continues. So,
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Well, again, we still have a motion on the table. If no one's going to second, I guess it will die for lack of a second. Is there any other motions?
This is Mark. I'll move to adopt staff recommendation with the understanding that this matter can be brought back at a later time. I don't think that needs to be included in the motion, but that's just simply a comment.
Okay, well, yeah, do you want to motion or make a motion to have staff relook at it at their next meeting, given these, so they can include the speed trailer data and with any possible recommendations?
My motion was just to adopt the staff recommendation of no changes recommended, simply based on what Steve was saying, because of the construction in that area. And I certainly see, just from my own experience, that traffic patterns in that area right now are much, much different than what are typical because of that construction on 13 Mile and Crooks. So I don't know that any study that we do really will reflect the true nature of the traffic until that construction is complete. So my motion was just simply to say no changes and bring this matter back after that construction is complete, if there continues to be a problem. But that's my motion.
Okay. So
This is Amanda. I would support it.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. There won't be any additional changes until traffic. Well, the construction, at least until construction is completed. And it looks like the police department is currently targeting enforcement at peak hours from their traffic or their speed trailer readings. So I think we're probably in good shape here. Is there any other questions from the petitioner that he wants before we move on? Okay. All right, so we're up to item 7D, request to install signage at Bauman Avenue for hearing impaired child.
Yeah, we received a request from Hannah Hardy of 901 Bowman, I don't know either, to install a warning sign on the block for her hearing impaired child as recommended by their doctor. So Bowman is the road from Rochester to Ferris. It's a 27-foot wide road consisting of concrete pavement with integral curbing, and parking is allowed on both sides of the street. The block is approximately a quarter-mile long, and the property owner did provide us with documentation showing that she does have a hearing impaired child who is age 5 at the address listed above. So the hearing impaired child sign is, if installed, should be removed when the child is 18 years old, which would be in 2034. So staff recommends, if this is installed, to add verbiage on the back of the sign, kind of like an expiration date, so DPS knows if there's ever a question when it could potentially come down. WROK has installed these types of signs in the past. Several communities around us and around the country discourage their use due to the false sense of security and the little impact on driver behavior. If implemented, one sign should be installed at each end of the block to advise traffic in each direction. So for westbound traffic, the sign would be installed near the corner, which is adjacent to 1025 Bowman Avenue. And for eastbound traffic, the sign would be installed adjacent to the commercial business that's just west of the public alley, and that's the Green Lantern Pizza is on the corner there. We did let the residential property owner at 1025 know about this potential item on the agenda in case they objected or wanted to discuss it. As far as I know, we didn't hear anything back, and I don't see anybody else here to speak tonight. So our recommendation is to install 2 hearing impaired child signs, one at each end of Bowman Avenue between Rochester and Ferris until 2034, with the stipulation that the property owner shall notify the city in writing should they ever move or the status of the impaired individual changes in any way. Estimated cost is $500.
Okay, you said there's nobody here from the public to comment on this.
I have no attendees left.
Okay. So we'll bring it back to the table. Does anybody have any discussion or want to make a motion on this?
This is Tom Allen. I move we accept the staff's recommendation.
This is Mark. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Which brings us up to what, item 8? No informational items only, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Can I just say something real quick before we adjourn?
Okay.
So our next meeting will be in July, at the end of July. And my thought is that we can probably go back to in-person meetings at that time unless something else changes in our world that would prevent that. But I guess I wanted to bring it up just to see if there were any strong objections or issues with doing that.
No, I think it's great.
Okay.
I wouldn't have any objections. I'm moving to Birmingham shortly, so I should probably talk with you guys about resigning, unfortunately, but that I can do in an email. Otherwise,
Well, congratulations and bummer for us, but
yeah, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
if you just send us, an email and we'll get it going from there.
Yep. I'll move to adjourn if that's all we have.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn. Anybody want a second?
I'll second Tom Allen.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.